Welcome to episode 20, is it already? Wow, 20.
The big 2-0.
Yes, indeed. So, Enrique, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you back, of course. And Commander, we're going to talk a little bit about Commander. At least that's what we're going to lead with.
Yeah.
Commander. Your favorite Commander.
Oh.
Now,
so many.
what do you got? What do you got for your favorite Commander?
Okay.
I guess we'll lead up to it, maybe. Well, what do you got?
You totally caught me off guard with this question.
Really? Yeah. I don't believe that for a second.
All right, so I chose. All right, my top 3 commanders. Anyone who's watched any of these videos with me, kind of, I guess you would figure out the first two, maybe.
Obvious, maybe, yeah.
So the first one is my latest deck that I've put together, and that's the Nicol Bolas, the Ravager.
Okay. I will say at this point, with that one deck and that one play session, you thoroughly cured me of my pet card addiction to Navinral's Disc. I was so... I don't use explicit language on the podcast, but if I was going to, yeah. I'm over that now. So, okay.
Okay, so Navinral's Disc.
No.
It's a good card.
It was a great card. It just didn't take in... It does not take into consideration Planeswalkers. And that's part of my problem with Planeswalkers. But you know what? When Brian was here, I promised him I was only going to have one more rant about it. This is not the time for that rant. Okay. Tell me more about your deck that you just made.
All right, so this deck, I wanted it to be based around the new Planeswalker of Nicol Bolas. Nicol Bolas, the Dragon God.
Right.
Now, you can't have Planeswalkers as your commander unless it explicitly says so.
Right.
So I came up with the next best thing, which was the Ravager.
Right.
And so I knew ahead of time that I wanted it to be a Planeswalker deck, a or in this case, super villains deck.
And all the stuff I told you I hated.
And
here's part of the reason. Here's the main reason. Not even the main reason. It's part of the reason.
It's an okay deck. It works sometimes.
Uh-huh.
And so yeah. I mean, the main focus of it is just to super friends or super villains my way to victory. Especially if I could get the Dragon God out. Yeah, that ultimate.
Nice.
Haven't done it yet. But
I don't think I'll be letting him anytime soon either.
I'm waiting for the day.
We'll see.
We'll catch you off guard. So that's my favorite out of these 3. My next favorite would be Nekazar. Another Grixis combination.
I can almost hear booing from the audience.
Yes. Nekazar.
Maybe I just got a finger. I'm not sure.
See, I think of Nekazar. Well, my build of Nekazar is a very fair sort of. It's a very fair, version of the deck, and it's a wheels deck.
Having played it, I now understand that. I was talking with Brian about this last time. He and I talked. Being on the other side of that deck is a very different feeling than actually playing against it. So yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying about it being a fair build. You got to play with the word fair a little bit, but anyhow, it's a fair enough build.
Left to its own devices, oh yeah, it'll get stuff done.
Right.
It can knock out a table in one turn.
Right.
It can. Does it all the time? All the time.
No, we don't let him do that.
But yeah, it's been done, and it was fun.
Yes.
And then thirdly is Teferi.
Teferi.
So this Teferi deck is all about big old fatty boom booms in blue.
Okay.
So a bunch of sea monsters.
Right.
And it's about just powering out as many just big old fatty boom booms as fast as possible.
As fast as possible. So it's a leading question, but it'll lead somewhere later on. At what point did you join or did you start playing Magic? Were there Planeswalkers at the time that you first joined, or were they introduced after you were already playing?
Oh no, I started playing Magic. 96 about. So the first booster pack of Magic that I bought before buying like a starter deck.
Right.
I bought a booster pack thinking, oh, this looks kind of cool. It was Fallen Empires, and so I thought the artwork on the box looked really cool, so I bought a pack.
Okay.
Thinking, okay, I could play this game. Yeah, you can't really play a game of Magic with one booster pack.
Not so much. Not so much. So you've been there for the introduction of Planeswalker and so on. I only bring that up because you seem to like them. I hate them. I hate them horribly.
It's an interesting mix of what it can do to the game overall. It's definitely changed Magic.
Right.
Just across all formats.
Right.
Definitely a huge change. And, I think for, if I think of it from like a design perspective, if I take that, I put on like design goggles and I think, like as far as like design space goes, yeah, Planeswalkers, I think it was a step in the right direction, I think, because not only does it introduce, these characters that you hear tons of stories about, throughout the Magic lore and all of that, it puts them into card form, and they're powerful. I mean, Planeswalkers are like demigods. Well, originally they were like demigods,
right?
Especially with Urza, and now it's like they're really powerful cards that have huge impact when they enter the battlefield.
Right.
So I think that's cool. As you know, like throughout the years, as power creeps upwards, these Planeswalkers, like Jace the Mind Sculptor, during that time, I mean, that was insane for when that was, standard legal. But
Right. For all the hatred that I share towards Planeswalkers, I'm going to I'm going to show, of course, then the same like you, though another one of yours changes to a Planeswalker is that the Freyalise is probably the favorite deck, and as I talked about
that's your
earlier,
favorite deck? Like the favorite if you had to choose between those three?
If I had to choose between these three, I actually, I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, you crossed over to the dark side.
I'm going to tell you now that last week had a lot to do with it. Last week, I played a game, a commander game, where Freyalise just performed admirably and beyond the deck itself. It's an elf deck. I mean, I won't say how hard is it to run an elf deck, but there's certain synergies that just allowed me to eventually run away with the game, even after being wiped out and set back to 0. Other players had, bad luck on their end or whatever, but I see enough strategies with that. But with all of my decks, I don't have anything that I think of as being that powerful until you kind of pointed this out to me and what she could do. And I already told the story about how I bought this by accident because it was the only commander that was there left. There was no love for the poor lady there, but I found a place for her in my heart, and I've carried on with it since then. Mizzet of the Ismagus, another one of my favorite decks. While other people's builds focus on taking turns and such, mine doesn't, and I was surprised to actually see that I only have maybe not even half a dozen win conditions. There's only about half a dozen win conditions between creatures and actual direct damage spells. But recently, I was able to play an entire night of Magic, only casting her maybe twice, and had fun that whole night playing the deck, though. You know what I mean? I didn't do anything spectacular, but I kept other people from doing things that were spectacular.
Shame,
you had a lock. You had the what was the lock where you can't get counters, but you can't cast spells.
Oh yes,
yeah.
I almost got that lock out.
You almost got that lock out, but luckily I was able to prevent that. Analia, Archmage, Ritualist, a favorite because again I don't have to cast the commander. Her her effects are so wide and so varied that of my commanders, these are the top three. But I asked Brian, and now I'm going to ask you. As interesting as this might be, what is your least favorite commander that you own and why?
All right, the least favorite commander that I own and that I've had the misfortune of playing with.
Yeah.
Let's see. Gosh, and I think simply because I hadn't altered the deck yet, I made it a point to keep it just stock. Like,
Okay.
didn't alter it at all. But the Nahiri Planeswalker deck.
Okay.
So it's mono white, and it centers around equipment
Okay.
and bringing out tokens and all sorts of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that's probably my least favorite currently. I do have plans to alter that deck. I just never got around to
So
it.
it's just a matter of you got a pre-con that you hadn't buffed up or hadn't really worked on the synergies with. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, her as a commander, she doesn't have any card draw, her being, mono white. So it really depends on what cards you have lined up, coming up in your deck and what you can search for and everything like that. And there have been games playing that deck where I just ran out of gas, just completely ran out of gas, and just had nothing to show for my efforts,
Gotcha.
And so that deck needs work.
That needs some work. Okay. So fair enough. So one of the other topics that I wanted to cover, and I don't have the computer in front of me right now, but I wanted us to build a deck, to build a Magic deck. But I wanted to do it
Standard?
standard with no Magic cards in front of us. So my question is,
With the power of the mind.
just the power of the mind. Imagine for me that I am somebody that's getting back into Magic. I've been out for a while, but I'm getting back in, and I don't want to play any other crazy formats just yet. I just want to get into the basic game. I want to build a 60-card deck.
Yeah.
How do I do that?
Well, Standard's the worst format to jump into.
Probably so, but I'm stubborn.
Well, no, not
and
really.
So, but I want to know because I'm only going to be able to buy the cards that I have now that are out there. So
Right.
I'm starting my collection from scratch. I played a long time ago. I sold everything off.
Oh boy.
Now I'm getting back into it, and I want to get in. I want to be maybe not competitive, but I want to have fun. So what's your advice to me? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go home. I'm going to sit down on Arena. I'm going to build based on your suggestions.
Oh man.
So no pressure.
So for
Give me a winning deck.
a paper player.
Paper play.
Okay.
Well, sure, paper player.
Okay. Because then I would just say.
Does it matter if I had said I'm only going to play online?
Okay.
But does that matter? Is that question to you?
Oh, absolutely, it does.
So you would build completely different based on that. Is it because of accessibility of cards?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so the reason for that is because Wizards or Hasbro brings out some pretty good pre-constructed decks.
Okay.
Particularly lately, the I don't know what they call them now, but before they're
Oh,
called
the event decks. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so event decks have been pretty spectacular lately.
Okay.
I mean, they'll have, 2 at most, maybe 3 of the key cards
Right.
in the deck, and then you would have to fill in the rest. But to start off, I mean, and they come with sideboards and,
Okay.
that's a great place to start, I would think, for a new player playing paper.
Okay.
Okay, so if we're talking about someone who's playing Arena, strictly Arena or something like that,
Yeah.
then
I want to learn on Arena what cards I'm going to go out and buy in paper. So I want the best experience possible first with the deck to then take to Friday Night Magic.
yeah. So
How do I do that?
If you don't do the event deck route,
Okay.
I would say mono red.
Okay.
Yeah,
So just straight mono red.
Just
Okay.
mono red, like burn and creatures, and it's very straightforward, especially for a new player.
But how do I build that?
Well, 20 mountains in like 40 red spells and creatures.
20. So I'm going to build this now. So I'm going to get 20 lands. Okay.
Actually, considering the high point of the current like acceptable mono red deck, I would say 23 lands.
23 lands.
Mountains.
Okay, I'm going to get 23 mountains.
Start off with that.
Okay.
Okay. And then you're looking for. So the current burn that's available is important, and choosing what those are. I believe the current 1 mana burn that's an instant is shock. So I'd say like 4 shocks.
Okay. So, and again, I'm not going to ask you to name every single card,
Okay.
but you're saying look for direct damage first. So I'm going to build this from the ground up, or am I going to look for bombs first? Or
you know what? I mean, if we're thinking of from ground up, then I would say, because this isn't the deck at least I have in mind is not a complete burn deck.
okay,
So what's important is having those low mana cost creatures that have impact.
Okay.
Away. So I would say slot in. Gosh, maybe 23 lands. So I would say 24 of those creatures
24 creatures.
Probably.
Okay.
would be needed for that deck, and then the rest would be like removal, like burn spells and
Okay.
such.
Removal. All right.
And so, low mana cost creatures, let's say for arena, especially if you're playing like the free to play route.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So, what are the impactful rares? It used to be Goblin Chain Whirler.
Sure.
It's a
Okay.
3-drop. And so that's a rare that I don't know if that's in favor anymore now with this current meta, but that's probably one to think about
Okay.
in case there's any elves or 1 toughness creatures out there.
And tokens, of course.
And tokens,
Take out
yes.
tokens. Okay.
And yeah, there's other creatures like 1 and 2 drop creatures. There's the 1 mana goblin.
So we're back online again, and it seems there's some dissension in the ranks. What you don't see on camera is our live studio audience that we have, and not everybody agrees that 23 lands is the wisest choice to go. But we're going to ignore that, and I'll talk to those folks next time when they're on.
Yeah.
But that's the great thing about this. And this is why we talk about it. This is why we create content, because not everybody's opinion is going to be the same. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the beauty of the game, is you go about it however you go. And with your friends, if you've got a play group, somebody that you can talk to, it's great to bounce those ideas off of everybody else to see what their play style is and so on. Mm-hmm. So, going to review. So you're going to stick with that 23, 24
Yeah, I'm
land?
sticking with 23.
Okay.
That's
I'm going to
fine.
look for removal. I'm going to look for 24 creatures.
Yeah.
And then the rest is removal. That's what I'm going to look for. I guess my thought is, do we...
Another important aspect that we didn't really touch on is budget.
Okay.
Like, we didn't touch on budget.
Right.
For paper or arena.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, assuming like someone starts off in arena, you're not going to have as many wild cards as someone who's been on an arena for a while.
Right.
And so,
Well, I'm going to keep this realistic because I've wasted all of my wild cards on a regular basis. We haven't checked in with my specific progress since the last time we talked and stuff. I'm still floundering around. Not floundering around. I'm at the platinum level still, and I've bounced around. I've got all the way up there to platinum 1 and then back down to platinum 4.
Ouch.
And now I'm coming back up to platinum 3 or 4. So I've got to get that to get to diamond, then to get to mythic.
oh, man.
But at the point that I spend, or at the rate that I spend wild cards, you're going to find the fact is that I'm going to be just like that player that only has 1 or 2 wild cards maybe to start with. So I will start with this deck, see what I have in my toolkit, and see where we go from there.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? Another card, just to add on to that list for like that mono red deck, which would justify the 23 land count, by the way, is that red hasty dinosaur with trample.
Gotcha.
I think
sure.
For a beginning player like getting into Magic, I think it's monstrous Tyrannosaur or something like that. So yeah, 5/5 trample with haste for 5 mana. Yeah, that's
definitely worth playing.
That's great.
All right, fair enough. I think I will do that then. Well, having said that, I'm going to say thank you for joining me on this episode.
All right, thanks for having me.
Bring it to a close, but thanks to all of you for tuning in. I'd like to ask, of course, that you like, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend. We've got new guests on here. We're looking to get new guests on here. If you're in the LA area and you shop at Game Hub, you're definitely welcome to join us. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to get Matt on here. Matt's one of the guys that's managing here that's nice enough to help us with setting up the room and stuff. So anyhow, keep tuning in. Show us some love. All right.